Invisible imaginings. You've got invisible imaginings all through your life. They will run your life, they will ruin your life, because to you they're invisible. My name is Mr. 2020. You were listening to the Power of Imagination podcast, where we explore the law of acceptance, where we blame only one thing, the one cause. Let's dive in. My buddy Joe sent this to me. It's actually one of my favorite quotes. Neville Goddard says, "Your beliefs need not be true." It may be, but it need not be true. It could be false. It could be half-truth. It could be a lie. It could be a superstition. It could be a prejudice. But the sum total of all that a man believes constitutes his state of consciousness. It is the house in which he abides, and as long as he remains in that house, similar problems will confront him. The circumstances of his life will remain the same. He may move physically across the ends of the earth, but he will encounter similar conditions because he can't get away from the house in which he abides. And that's Neville Goddard from 3 Propositions. You can find that at freeneville.com. So in our year-long Remarkable group, one of the things that we're exploring are nominalizations. That's a big word, isn't it? It's a big word, but it reveals something really rapid and fast. It's a big word that basically says, look, when you convert a process into a noun, things get weird. So what is a belief? A belief, to me, seems to be an invisible imagining. A belief comes from the process of believing. What's believing? Accepting something as true. When you accept something as true to the point where you don't even notice it's something you are accepting. Let me say it again in a different way. There's what's true. The truth about you sets you free. There's what you accept as true. They may or may not be the same thing. Let that sink in for a second. Because we all know people who are stuck. We've all been stuck. But you serve yourself limitations on a plate every single day. What you accept as true are the limitations on your plate. And I know some folks, they say, I don't want any limitations. Well, that's God. God has no limitations. Your awareness of being has no limitations. You know what? You can be aware of poverty. You can be aware of richness. You can be aware of happiness. You can be aware of sadness. There are all kinds of, awareness of being is aware of what's being. It's endless. What's being are endless options. Neville Goddard calls that the Father. I am that I am. The name of the Son has a tooth that consumes in it. We explored this in a couple live calls. How to manifest the impossible was one of them. The tooth that consumes, that's your Savior. You get to consume that which you do not like. You get to allow it to be consumed by fire. There's some fascinating references Neville makes about this. But I'm going to take this in a really cool way. My Native American mentors taught me that wood basically is stored sunlight. And when you know how to handle wood, you can unleash the sunlight. I used to make fires using something called the bow drill. In other words, rubbing 2 sticks together and unleashing the fire within that wood. It's a spiritual experience. Exploring, unleashing the fire within. Not just the wood, but yourself. And so we have these nominalizations, these virtual things. We could call them beliefs. And what a belief really is it's the resultant of the process of believing. What's believing? Believing is accepting something as true to the point where it is an invisible imagining. Invisible imaginings aren't subconscious. That's another weird one to me. You see, if you start to blame deep hidden beliefs, if you start to believe the subconscious and that it needs influencing, you've just sold the pearl of great price. And I know Neville mentioned those things, and I've mentioned those things too, and Neville walked away from them, and so have I. For a reason. Without manifestation, let's back up a little bit. Without imagination, there is no movement. Without imagination, there is no manifesting. For you to listen to this podcast, you have to imagine movement. You've got to push a button to listen to the podcast. To get gold from the podcast, you have to imagine having had gotten gold. See, if you believe you're going to get gold from this, you will find it, because it's there. On the other hand, if you accept that the world is confusing and I'm confusing and your whole life is confusing, you can accept that as true as well. Doesn't mean it's true. You can accept something far more lovely. So let's hit this one more way. Ready? Let's pretend you got a wooden house in which you abide. It's a lovely wooden shack, isn't it? It's sort of romantic. It's in the woods. It's little. It's semi-cozy. It's got a potbelly stove, maybe. But instead of the little shack in the woods, you want a beach house. Maybe a penthouse, even. And what you get to do is you get to burn your house down. You get to unleash the stored sunlight in the little shack that you've constructed. We construct little shacks as children. We accept things as true so we can survive the schoolyard. We accept things as true so we can survive our family lives. We accept things as true so that we can succeed enough to get an attaboy. You did great. And it's time to burn your house down. If you don't burn your house down, you're going to keep returning to it. Plain and simple. And how do you burn your house down? You see, here's what I notice about beliefs. People blame things on beliefs, deep hidden ones. People blame things on their subconscious. See, I notice this. And I notice when people do it, that's when they get stuck more and more. See, it's not what I believe about beliefs that I'm sharing with you. It's what I simply notice people do. On the other hand, those who dance, they're dancers. They're dancing. They are the dance. You ever watch someone dance? It literally is unleashing sunlight, isn't it? See, you're the spark behind the eyes. You're what animates the meat suit. You aren't your history. For God's sake, that's impossible. Right? What you are is the mystery of you. And so I invite you today to dive deeper, to soar higher. Visit us at NevilleGoddardStore.com. We've got all kind of goodies there. We've got some new live programs going on too. If you want to talk to me about those, drop me an email. We've got Remarkable. That's the ongoing emergent. Very fascinating stuff. Always new. We've got the Destiny Project starting up in July 2024. You can ask me and I'll send you some info on that. Answer your questions. But here's the thing. People struggle with beliefs. They struggle with virtual nouns. Right? The whole thing is you want to start changing what you're believing, what you're accepting as true. And you've got a choice today. You can struggle or you can stretch. And stretching invites you to stretch your wings to be carried by the invisible wind currents. To have faith that, you know what? Your desire just might be your destiny. Don't just say it is. You see, I met a girl, and I felt destined to be with her. And here I am. I stopped my need for planning. I stopped my need for pushing. I accepted the truth that sets me free. I accepted that Neville was right. Every desire has its own plan and power of fulfillment. And when I stop trying to put my plan on things, I get to play. You can plan or you can play. DreamDrivenDay.com. Go there. Join us. That's what I got today. Joe, thanks for the quote. Inspired me to explore a bit today. And what if that was really what this was about? And Joe, my friend, again, I thank you for this because you invited me to do what you and I do. To explore something together. And to expand who we are. To stretch beyond where we've been struggling. And to burn the old house down. Those pesky, invisible imaginings. Stuff that you imagine so well you actually accept it as true. About you, about the world, about your struggle. Have a lovely day. My name is Mr. 2020. And you've been listening to the Power of Imagination podcast. Let's imagine up something yummy as we go into the silence. There is only one power. That is the power of imagination. What are you accepting true? About me, about you, about life, about what is actually possible. Dive deeper, soar higher. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing the show. See ya.